Sure, you're muted.
Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Janice McHenry. I'm president of the 40 West Business Association, and I'm your moderator this evening. And doing the technical work and has put in hours of time and really has worked hard on this is Jennifer Witt with the Wayne Chatter. The 40 West Business Association, the Community News, and the Wayne Chatter are bringing you this year's Wayne Township School Board Candidates Forum, so you may get to know more about the candidates and hear their thoughts on questions that pertain to our schools and the school board. This evening, we have all 8 candidates running this year, and I'm going to introduce them right now. We have Karen Burke, and Karen, if you will wave, Shirley Decker, Michael Gordon, Susan Graves, Brandy London, Melissa Ritchie, Lisa Schmitz, and Audrey Marie Stucker. You will be voting for 3 of these candidates to take office in January. Tonight, we're going to start with each candidate having 90 seconds to give us an introduction about themselves. And we are going to start with Karen Burke. So Karen?
Good evening, everyone. I would like to first thank the sponsors, Community News. Can you guys hear me? Okay, all right. Just want to make sure. Okay, let's start over again. Good evening. I would like to first thank the sponsors, the Community News, Jennifer Witt, and Janice McHenry for inviting us to take part in this school board campaign, or excuse me, candidate forum. I have lived in Wayne Township most of my life. I was raised in Hallville, and my husband and I have 3 grown daughters who are very successful alumni of the district. I recently retired from St. Vincent's. I worked there 27 years, and I recently retired to take care of my mother, who had recently passed. But from that adventure, I opened up my own home care agency. I've also been involved with Wayne Township in other capacities. I was an elected official from 2008 to 2016, serving on the Wayne Township Advisory Board, and I am currently an appointed member for the Wayne Township Fire Department Merit Board. I am excited about this opportunity to serve on the school board, to be an advocate for our children, our parents, and our teachers in Wayne Township. I want to establish and maintain a quality and equitable educational foundation for our students, especially now, since we have a new normal. So remember, for our Waynes today, tomorrow, elect me, Karen Burke, November 3rd. Thank you and God bless.
Okay, thank you, Karen. And from there, we will move on to Shirley Decker.
Okay, I'm muted. 1 second.
Shirley, wait a minute, you're muted. We'll need to start over again. So, hang on just a second here. Is she ready? Okay, Shirley.
Are we still not hearing her?
I don't hear her.
Okay.
Hang on. We still don't hear you.
Okay. 3rd time's charm.
Hey, great.
Okay. Good evening and welcome. Thank you for understanding the importance of this evening. I want to especially thank the West Side J ladies, Jackie, Jenny, and Jennifer, for all the work that they've done to get this event together. I have been a Wayne Township resident for almost 50 years. I have a BA in English and a master's in Education Administration and Leadership, and have taught students from grade 5 through junior high, high school, and adult basic education. I have 8 immediate family members that are proud Ben Davis graduates. Now, why am I running for board again? The successes of MSD Wayne have always been and will always be due to continuity of leadership. Every successful program that we have, that we now enjoy, have been built upon the values and philosophies of past leaders. The history, the rich history of Wayne Township will always, has always been a huge part of our school district. I hope to help the new board members to embrace that history as they make decisions for tomorrow's successes. I can provide continuity of leadership to our schools and to our community. And then the second reason is I'm just a really good board member. And one example of that is that I have reached the master board member status with the Indiana Association of School Boards twice. Done that twice. And then the main reason is I just dearly love MSD Wayne and its community. And I have always enjoyed working with them, and I just want to continue to do so. So thank you, and thank you for your vote.
Thanks very much, Shirley. And from there, we'll move on to Michael.
Good evening. I'd like to start by first thanking the sponsors of tonight, the Community News, 40 West Business Association, and Wayne Township Community Chatter. I also want to thank all of you for taking time out of your evening to watch or listen tonight. By taking the time, you show that this board and what it does is important to you. I've posted along the campaign that I believe that as a district and as a community, it is important that we equip our students to be successful in whatever they choose to do after graduation, whether that be college, trade school, or straight into employment. I also believe it's important to be open and transparent with the community and to be a good steward of what we are given. In today's society, with viruses, masks, social distancing, online classes, virtual forums, we are certainly in a different learning environment. We all talk about this problem or that problem. We complain to our family and our friends. We post on social media. This is me. This campaign is me standing up and saying, I'm done talking, I'm done complaining. Now I'm ready to serve and be a part of the solution if you'll have me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. And next we will move to Susan.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. Thank you again to our sponsors of this event. This has been a great opportunity to get my name out there and just to introduce myself to the community that I hope to serve with your vote. I have been a Wayne Township resident for a very long time. I come from a single parent home, so I know the challenges that our single parent families are facing because I lived it too, especially during this pandemic time. I served 32 years as a public school teacher, first in IPS, and then I went on to a different school location. I retired last September, but my goal was never to retire from children. Children are, it can be a little bit overstated, but children are our future. And I totally believe in the children and the families and the community and the administration, teachers that support the children, and we're growing our citizens here. So I hope to have your vote in early November if you can't get out and vote right now, but please do get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. And from there, we will move on to Brandy. So Brandy?
Good evening to our hosts and to our guests that are here this evening. My name is Brandy London, and I'm honored to be a candidate for the MSD of Wayne Township School Board. For the past 12 years, I've been a resident and parent of Wayne Township. I'm the proud parent of 2 Ben Davis graduates, classes of 2016 and 2020, and my third son is now a 7th grader at Chapel Hill 7th and 8th grade center. I'm an active and involved Wayne parent. volunteering in several capacities in the classroom, at school and sporting events, as well as service on the PTO. I'm a registered nurse of 18 years and a small business owner of 6 years. In my role as Chief Education Officer, I have the privilege of collaborating with public school leaders to create robust career and technical education opportunities in health sciences. And through these partnerships, my company has helped many high school students earn industry-recognized certifications in high-demand careers, helping students earn dual credit and meet new graduation requirements. I'm an avid proponent of public education and believe it is the right of all children to have access to quality education and programs that meet the needs of our communities. I'm seeking a seat at the table because I've realized deep satisfaction from working in public education, and I am ready to make an even greater impact for Wayne families and teachers. If selected to serve, I vow to put our children first by fighting for equitable funding, continuing the work of the board and providing safe schools for our students and our staff, and helping to implement strategies to recruit and retain the very best educators. I look forward to answering your questions this evening as I seek to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brandy. And from there, we will move on to Melissa. So Melissa.
Good evening, everybody. And it goes without saying that I would also like to thank our sponsors and our hosts, as well as our guests, for joining us this evening. This is definitely a very different time. So this is very different for all of us, I think, instead of being in person. To introduce myself, my name is Melissa Ritchie. I have been a Wayne Township resident since 1986, where I started at Ben Davis Junior High. I have since had 7 children go through the system here in Wayne Township, very successfully, I might add. Actually, our last one is currently a senior. She will be completed in December. So then we will officially have 7 that have gone through Wayne Township. And I have had the luxury of volunteering for many things within Wayne Township, such as host. We were very involved with the ROTC program. Sports, all of our children were involved in something through Wayne, and I'm grateful for that. I feel like the busier they are, the more it keeps them out of trouble, and it builds character. And I have appreciated that. I have so much respect for our teachers. I initially went to school to be a teacher. Ironically, I am a small business owner and own a real estate company. So that is who I am, and I would love a seat on the board. Because I want to be able to help make an impact in our community with our parents, our teachers, and our administration. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Melissa. From there, we will move to Lisa. Lisa, you're up.
Hi, everybody. I am Lisa Schmitz, and a little bit about me in terms of what I bring to a school board seat. My experience is more than 25 years of human resources experience, and 12 of these last years specifically in Wayne Township. So my experience is from corporate America, but what that gives me is the ability to help provide oversight. I understand operations, I understand finance, and I absolutely understand recruiting and retention. And so that is what I think qualifies me for this seat. But why am I doing this? So my husband and I founded the Mars Hill Art Center a couple of years ago. We are in the heart of Mars Hill. I served in my HR capacity for 12 years in Mars Hill as well. But in serving this community and realizing the needs of the families and the children is what really has inspired me to do this. And many of the families actually asked me and encouraged me to do it. So I have the time, I have the ability, and I have the experience to be able to provide some really great resources to a school board seat. And again, like everyone else has said, thank you so much to everyone for hosting this tonight. I hope it gives all of our guests some really great information and some things to take away to make their decision to vote. So my last statement, vote Lisa Schmitz for MSD Wayne.
Okay, thank you so much, Lisa. And last, we will go to Audrey Marie. Be the last to introduce herself this evening.
Thank you to 40 West Business Association and Westside Community Chatter for hosting this forum today. My name is Audrey Strecker, and I was raised in a military family. Growing up and moving from school to school was tough, but it was made worse for me by bullies. I decided to do something about bullying for other students, and I became a certified English teacher. I graduated from Ball State in 2009 with my teaching degree. After years of teaching in Newcastle and Indianapolis, I now work part-time. I reunite pet parents with their lost or missing pets, and I volunteer in the community. I currently serve as president for my neighborhood's HOA. My husband, John, and I do not have children yet, but when we do, I'm proud to say they will attend Wayne schools. I am running to make sure our children have an equitable and high-quality education. My short-term goal is to give families and taxpayers more communication from the board, while my long-term goal is to balance our budget and remove the need for referendums in the future. I look forward to answering your questions and earning your vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Audrey. We're going to move on to our questions, and we would like to thank everyone who submitted questions online. We tried to incorporate as many of those questions into one of our questions for the candidates as possible. Each candidate is going to have 1 minute to answer each question. We will start in alphabetical order, and we're going to be starting, each person will have an opportunity to start a question and probably end a question. And the first question will begin with Shirley Deckard. And the question is, explain what you think is the greatest challenge for Indiana school children, and what can you do as a board member for this challenge?
Good question. Of course, currently it would be the pandemic and the difference in the way we have to educate our children. Children are adaptable, and they seem to be doing a pretty good job of catching on to this, probably faster than I am or some of you. But I think also the biggest challenge for our children is that we are, and have been for the last many years, we are being ignored financially by the state of Indiana. They have just over the years allowed our schools to get poorer and poorer and poorer. And with that means that there are services that cannot be offered to our children. Many school districts in Indiana no longer have art and music as separate classes. Even if we were back in brick and mortar schools, that would be happening. Students that need extra help can't always get it because we don't have the finances in the state of Indiana to pay for all the help that our schools need. So I think the biggest detriment to our children's education right now is coming from the state level, and I think that needs to be fixed, and I advocate for that to be fixed and work every day for it. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Shirley. From there, we will move to Michael.
I think the biggest challenges right now facing our children, our schools, obviously is the pandemic to start with. We have so many issues with, when we look at parents, we got some parents who don't believe that a mask should be used at all. We got some who believe it should be worn as soon as they walk out of the house. So trying to balance that, find a balance between those two extremes is a struggle. I also agree with Shirley with the state house not helping schools out. I've seen a lot of schools that have had to cancel a lot of their art programs. And that's not just drawing art, that's music and band and the such. Those are all classes that make the whole child, make the whole person. Most of us have all had some kind of music or art or something in our grade school as we were growing up, and not having that today will definitely be a detriment to our kids in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Susan.
Great question. As a third grade teacher, I was responsible for the students in my class getting ready for tests. And I can tell you that I strongly believe that we are testing our children too much. And what I mean by that is, as a teacher, I would give a test and then I was expected to remediate and then test again. Problem is that there's not enough time to remediate, and our children, I believe we are gaps in their education. We are creating, for some children, I hate to say this, but we are creating sinkholes for them. And if we don't tighten this up, then our children will be great test takers, but I worry that they won't be great thinkers and they won't be great doers for our society. So as a school board member, that's advocating for an advocating administration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. And Brandy, the same question.
I think one of the biggest challenges is the growing complexities that our families and our children are facing. Family dynamics are just so strained a lot of times, especially right now in the pandemic, with many families having a loss of income and things of that nature. And the school is having to pick up a lot of that slack, just in my opinion, and being in the public education space. And so that strains our budget, that strains our staff. And ultimately our children suffer because we don't have the resources that we need. We don't have the additional support staff that we need. And it's really a systemic issue. So I would say that's the biggest thing.
Melissa.
Telling me to stop, sorry.
So obviously it goes without saying that I too believe that the pandemic has created a huge challenge for our school systems. It's been tough on parents. It's been tough on children, even though children, yes, they are, I think, more adaptable than adults can be. But it has put a strain on families. Like Susan said, you know, single parents that have to figure out what to do with their children if they work or if they're doing e-learning. Or even if they are at home, the e-learning has been a big struggle for a lot of kids, especially in the younger grades. So I think that's been a big challenge to navigate through. I do think that so far MSD Wayne has done a great job navigating through it and trying to help families, even if it's with technology or support systems. So it's definitely been a challenge, but I too also think that finances are a big challenge for our children, because when we can't offer enough resources for our kids, that hurts our children. And I feel like with the emotional aspect of kids, especially nowadays, that there are some extra resources that we could benefit from. But unfortunately, we just don't have the funds for that. And I would like to see that changed.
Thank you, Melissa. And Brandy, I'm sorry, but I cut you off a little early. If you have something else you'd like to add, please go ahead right now.
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
And from there, we will move to Lisa.
So I will agree with everyone. The pandemic has probably been the largest challenge that our children and families have had this year. But what I think we can do to address a lot of issues that have come out of this pandemic are to have a board and an administration that has access to the tools that maybe they can use to pivot at any given moment. I think we all have experienced a need to change things on the turn of a dime, and to be able to have things in our toolbox that our teachers and our administrators can use to be able to address whether it's e-learning or children at home without parents at home, or parents now having to work from home and homeschool their children. There are all kinds of things. And there are a lot of different corporate approaches that you can use to come up with ideas to better serve these children as we're going through things like this. And I think having a team of people that can do that is essential.
Okay, thank you so much. And Audrey.
Besides the pandemic, of course, I do believe that something that's pervasive in our schools is bullying. And as someone who was bullied throughout our youth, and also I had a sister who was bullied, I know what negative impacts bullying can have on a student. both in school and beyond. The board does currently have an anti-bullying policy, which I strongly support. No one is born with bullying tendencies, and it can have many sources. One reason is lack of knowledge. So by having an anti-bullying policy, the board asks our administrators and teachers to help bridge this gap of knowledge and create positive learning environments instead of negative. Education about identifying possible bullying is important. To combat it, we need identification, and students may withdraw from class, have a change in personality, or avoid certain peers. I do hope to have aggressive initiative to combat cyberbullying as well. Thank you.
Karen?
I think everyone has made some really good points, and it was really effective. I would say the greatest challenge currently is the COVID and how it is affecting the safety and the security for our children, just for our homes. Children can go off on a hybrid schedule and come home and say, well, such and such said they had COVID or they've been infected. Then as a parent or as a grandparent or just as a teacher, you have to explain to them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you've got it. So that's exactly what I ran into. So I think the children, we have to, as leaders, as parents or as administrators, we have to make them comfortable and secure while this is all going on. And another one of my concerns is the challenges with the lesson plans. It is great, the technology is great, and Wayne Township is doing an excellent job with the technology, but there are cracks. There is definitely improvement that is needed. And I'm gonna give an example, an IEP student. Are we there for them? I've seen an IEP student get the lesson, but they're struggling. And that parent cannot communicate with that teacher. They're having a hard time. So I think there's a lot more, again, this COVID hit everyone. So we're all learning day to day. But I really feel like that is a big challenge because we do not want to lose our children. And our children, when they get these lesson plans, and if they can't understand it, it is our responsibility as teachers, as administrators, as leaders, to help them get a better understanding and not to fail. And we just can't assume. I'm sorry. Okay. I'll stop. Thank you, but thank you for listening to me.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next question, we will start with Michael. And this is a rather long question, and if you need anything repeated, please do just ask. MSD of Wayne Township leaders have been quoted this year stating, "This is the most expensive school year that any of us will ever experience. We understand that the additional costs are a result of the changes made due to the pandemic. Given Indiana's greatly reduced surplus, the current revenue forecast, and a reduction in enrollment this year, what do you believe will need to be done with future budgets in Wayne Township?" And Michael, we will start with you.
That was a long question. I think to start, we need to focus on making sure that we have a balanced budget now, a balanced budget going forward. We need to make sure that, as that quote said, this absolutely has been expensive with all the devices and everything that we've had to do extra that we haven't had to do, the partitions between students and the gloves and the masks and whatever that the school district has had to provide has been very expensive. So I think we need to start right now with making sure that we're balanced, and then we need to try and cut where we can. Obviously, it's going to be a struggle. We're going to have to figure out how to cut here and cut there and figure out where we cut at, because you don't want to cut out one, take from Peter to rob Paul, and then have Peter turn around and need it later on. So it's tough. So I think everybody's just going to have to be as good of a steward as they possibly can with every dime that they have to look at right now.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And Susan, the same question.
As part of a family, we have a budget at our house, and there are, the needs and the wants. It's kind of the same thing as a school board. We have to look at what is absolutely critical for our children. And right now during this pandemic, it's absolutely critical that we keep their safety from illness, from, just making sure that they're safe at school or safe at home. And those are the things that we're going to have to prioritize right now. And I think that when you go through something like this that is so financially straining to a district or to a home, then it kind of helps you look forward in creating future budgets. So we have to look at what is most critical for all of our students right now. And yes, safety is, but I truly believe that we have to look at their academics also and their social well-being. We have children that have been at home for months, and that's the end of my time.
Thank you. And from there, we will move on to Brandy.
Thank you so much. Another complex question that, there's not a right or a wrong answer, really, in my opinion. Complex times calls for complex measures sometimes. I think one of the biggest things is looking for additional funding sources, which I guess would be like a, well, duh moment. Sometimes in public education, that's hard to come by. But looking at those things, making sure that we are applying for that state funding, those state grants that we are eligible for. As a business owner, the first thing I will go to is lean spending. It goes kind of back to what Susan just stated. Sometimes we have to take a look at what's absolutely necessary and what's not, which can be difficult when you're dealing in the public education space and in urban areas, because a lot of those extra services our children desperately need. So it can be a tough call. The other thing is more systemic wise for ourselves and for our communities, advocating to put people into office that are the decision makers. And these decision makers need to be proponents of public education, so that when we are looking towards the future, we have a better opportunity to be better prepared. So thank you for the question.
Thank you. And Melissa, you're next.
So with this complex question, and it's a deep question, but it's a very, very important question, because everybody always wants to know, how can we afford this? How can we afford that? Where's the money coming from? We just talked earlier about our finances and that they're already low. So I feel that this pandemic has caused it to be a very expensive year, yes. So it kind of gives us the opportunity, I think, to look forward as the budget, when we're working on the budget, to prepare for the what ifs. Obviously, we did not see this coming. And sometimes you don't see things coming. So now we know that we can prepare a little bit better and look at the what ifs and the right now. What is important right now? What do we need absolutely to take care of our children? That is first and foremost priority. But then from there, look at the future, at the what ifs, and try to prepare that within the budget.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Lisa?
So I'm going to agree with Brandy on a couple of points. So as a business owner and also a former HR executive of a multi-million-dollar company, the first thing that we should look at is lean spending, and what can we do without that is not going to have a direct impact on the children. And how do we reevaluate all the things that we're doing from a district-wide perspective, but then also voting on legislators that are supportive of public education. They are the ones that are writing laws that are directly impacting our school districts, and I cannot say how important that is. I have direct personal experience with that. So I think those two things are critical, but also looking at it from the corporate perspective. And yes, it's a school district and it's an educational process for our children, but we have to be able to balance our budget. And so looking at it from a corporate perspective and balancing that budget sheet is critical so that we can serve those children.
Thank you. Audrey?
Lisa was right on the money when she was talking about legislators and we need to vote in people that will give money to our schools. I completely agree. Now, as far as MSD of Wayne, I do know that some of our devices were purchased with money from a grant, and some of our MiFi devices were also purchased with money from a grant. Grants are an excellent way to generate a little extra revenue when we can find them and apply. We must also keep our children healthy and safe. In order to keep them safe, we do need to give them those devices so they have that opportunity to learn from home. We do need to spend the money on safety inside the classroom for our brick and mortar students. Now, if a deficit were to occur, I would look at all the avenues and possibilities just as our board does currently. I would research and apply for potential grants. I have grant writing and applying experience, and I have successfully applied for grants. And I would communicate directly with taxpayers about our options. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Karen?
Yes, I would continue to work with the school board. School board would continue to work with Dr. Butts and our CFO, Barry Gardner. They are now implementing some things that are saving millions of dollars. For example, simple change of a light bulb has saved us $1 million as a district, a school district. And we're talking about they're talking about looking into more. They have numerous examples of what the current school board has saved for the township and for the community. So I believe, yes, we definitely have to look at our budget. And if there's any kind of way we might have to reallocate the funds, we can do that too. But we have to continue to work on decreasing our funds. And maybe just, again, that was a simple solution, just to change the light bulbs. So that saved millions. So we need to continue to look into those items.
Thank you so much, Karen. Shirley?
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. Yeah. One thing we haven't talked about is this year is very, very expensive for our school district and everybody else's school district. However, last year, at the end of the year, when schools were closed, we were able to save some money. So that's a plus, and that money has been brought forward to be used this year. We've always, for the last many years, had to operate pretty close to the bone, and there are very few things that can be cut. However, we're always looking for any way that we can save, even the light bulbs, Karen. We have a great financial team. We have innovative thinkers. We have great grant writers, and they've pulled us out of the abyss more often than not. But the most important thing is, people, we need to vote for people that support public education, period. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shirley. Our next question, and we will start with Susan this time. In May, the MSD of Wayne Township joined the 10 other traditional public school districts in Marion County to create no racism zones. In June, the Board of Education adopted a resolution decrying racism and reaffirming the commitment to support teaching and learning for all families. What do you believe the role of our schools should be in an anti-racism practices, policies, and procedures?
What a wonderful question. And I'm so proud to be a member of the Wayne Township community and have a son who is a sophomore at Ben Davis University. I believe that our school district, we owe it to our children to teach them and expect them to be accepting, loving toward all. There's no exceptions, all people. And as a school board member, I will fight to make sure that we are showing equitability among all of our students in all of our programs that we encourage, all of our programs that we offer to our children. From kindergarten on up, we have to continue to teach fair and equitable systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Brandy.
Great question. Very near and dear to my heart. I think our role, first of all, is always to be focused on cultural diversity and awareness, not only for our students, but also for our staff. A lot of that starts at home. When my children come home and they have experienced something different that they've never experienced before, whether it's someone that has a different religious belief or whatever it may be, that education starts at home. But also we have to be immersing our students in different cultures and cultural diversity. I know that 35% of Wayne Township students are Black, 28.7% are Hispanic. We have such a large growing ELL population here in the state of Indiana. And it's, Indiana is not the most progressive state, but I am proud to say that Wayne Township, in my opinion, we are very welcoming of different cultures and different diversity. It's going to be important that we continue to have a diverse workforce, that we have a diverse school board. It's important that people of color see people represented, just like everyone gets to see themselves represented. So for me, it's very near and dear to me. And as a school board member, I think it's our job to continue to put those policies in place. I do see that we do have some policies surrounding cultural diversity. So I'd like to see more of that so that we can continue to have that discussion.
Okay, thank you, Brandy. Melissa?
So one thing I've always shared with people is that I'm very proud to be part of MSD Wayne because we are so diverse. I'm grateful that all 7 of my kids were able to attend Wayne Township schools for that reason. And though it starts at home, they learn a lot through being at school with all these different types of human beings. And I also believe that teachers play a huge role in that. We want to make sure that they are educated in diversity and therefore they're able to portray it onto the students because students model what they see. They model their teachers. They spend so much time in the classroom. And some of them form great relationships. So I think if the teachers are able to really portray it, that's going to help our students as well.
Thank you, Melissa. Lisa.
So I'm going to agree with Brandy again. I am coming to this answer from not only my corporate perspective, but my personal perspective. I grew up in the South. My father actually helped write the plans that helped to integrate students after desegregation in the 60s and 70s. And so for me, this is a passion. And we can set all the policies and procedures in place, but unless we have diversity in our staff, diversity in our administration, diversity on this board, and unless if we don't set the example, then all of those policies and procedures are for naught. So having them in place, yes, absolutely, they need to be there, but we also need to encourage that diversity in the classroom and all the way up to the school board so that we're setting that example for our kids. And yes, we have one of the most diverse school districts in the state of Indiana, and so we need to reflect that, and we need to support that, and we need to encourage that.
Thank you. Audrey.
Our diverse student population makes us stronger. Learning is the business that Wayne is in, and what better opportunity than to learn from each other. I understand we have over 50 languages represented in our schools, and I also think it's imperative that every English language learner have the same opportunity to speak and write as fluently as their peers. I also believe that staff and the school board should mirror the student population in ethnicity, ability, and socioeconomic status. As you had mentioned in the question, the board recently adopted the anti-racism policy, and I'm strongly in favor of that. Having such a diverse student population, they may experience culture shock, like Brandy said, and they may come home and have had some new experiences that need to be explained. It's also important that the board listen and validate every student and family's experience and strive to give education that's not only equal, but equitable. This allows teachers to teach to the learner, which is best practice.
Thank you, Audrey. Karen?
This is a good one, and Brandy so eloquently stated it clearly for all of us. And she actually used some of the same words I was used. This is big for Wayne Township, and I know they are trying. They really are, and I appreciate that very much. But it starts with us as a community, and it actually starts with the school board. We just recently appointed an African American to the school board. And again, majority students are African American, second is Hispanic. So as a school board, we need to reflect the diversity of our students. So that's why you're seeing 2 African American ladies now running for school board. The team that's running now is great, but I was just wanting to put that out there that we as a school board, we need to reflect the student population, and it needs to go down to the teachers also. Thank you.
Shirley. Thank you, Karen. We'll move on to Shirley.
Now, thank you. We have almost 70 actually languages in Wayne Township. On any given day, we've been up as high as 72 to 75. And you need to understand, if you hadn't thought about it, each one of those languages represents a different culture. So where else are our children going to learn diversity and learn to understand other people than at school? Because the child sitting next to them has a totally different culture than what they grew up with. So we just need to allow our children and guide our children to learn to love the person sitting next to them, the person sitting behind them, the person sitting in front of them, and to encourage that. And what we'll see in our children is a love for diversity of human beings.
Thank you, Shirley. And we will end this question with Mike.
Thank you. I'm going to use the word advocacy here. I'm a firm believer in being advocates for our kids. I have, as a parent of a special needs child, I had to learn how to advocate for my child. I've learned that, and that goes for as teachers, as administrators, as equity starts at the top, and we need to learn to advocate all the way down the line through the school board. Teachers need to learn to advocate for their kids. Our administrators need to learn to advocate for their kids. Parents, we need to learn to advocate for our kids. It's something we don't do sometimes often enough. MSD of Wayne has started recently an equity teams ran by Dr. Danita Harris that is starting now to get the community involved to bring and talk about equity. It's a newer topic for a lot of school systems, and it's something that a lot of people simply don't want to talk about because it's a hard topic to talk about, but it's something that must be talked about. We've got to make sure that we're introducing it into our schoolrooms. We've got to make sure that we're introducing it into our students so that as new people come into our kids' lives, it's not new to them and it's something that they're used to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. Our next question, this time we will start with Brandy. Over time, we have had different programs at the national level, like our current federal program, ESSA, which is Every Student Succeeds Act, and more are being dictated at the national and state level. How will you work to make sure Wayne Township schools reflect our community values? Brandy?
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now? I keep forgetting about the mute button. Okay, that's a great question. So how will I make sure that Wayne Township, or that I reflect Wayne Township values? I'm sorry, can you repeat that last part?
How will you work to make sure Wayne Township schools reflect our community values?
Oh, okay, thank you. I think one of the ways is, going out for the school board and becoming more active within the community. I think that shows and proves that we do need to make sure that we are involved at the granular level of making change in our community. Another way is supporting those community events that are upholding our Wayne Township values, continuing to be the parent that is involved, again, at that, very granular level with my children's school, being able to assist in other ways with other children, whether that's volunteering of time, volunteering of dollars, things of that nature. So for me, it's me doing my part is getting involved and getting active with my community.
Thank you so much, Brandy. Melissa?
To reflect our community values, listening to our community is one. Being able to engage our community, to show our values, to bring everybody on board. To engage our community then enriches our community, because then more people grasp what our values are. And being involved, like Brandy said, shows that. So I think definitely listening, volunteering, being active, and engaging our community would help show our values.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. We will move on to Lisa.
So I have a friend that says, be there to be there. And that means being present, being visible, being in the community, putting yourself out there. And frankly, that's what my husband and I did when we started the Mars Hill Art Center a few years ago. And having worked in this community for 12 years and having lots of folks that I worked with who were from Mars Hill and from Wayne Township, and then finally submersing ourselves in it afterwards really helped me understand what that be there to be there really meant. And so I think for all of us, whoever ends up on the school board, but also all of our administrators and staff and teachers, being there for those students is not just a classroom day. It is participating in their activities. It's going to games, obviously when we can, but it's being there for them in other ways just outside of that classroom so that they can see you, they can experience you, and you can be there to support them.
Thank you very much. And from there, we will move to Audrey.
Partnering with local and national organizations and businesses has brought great things to our schools. It gives our students and school staff opportunities that they wouldn't have otherwise. We already have robust community involvement, and I feel that that's something that will continue. This is a testament to how much our school cares about our taxpayers and vice versa. Wayne schools are actually a leader in community involvement, I believe. There's over 100 outside groups and businesses currently involved with our schools. And I'm experienced in leading volunteers to help with local projects, and I hope to add more partnerships with Wayne schools in the future. We also must focus on the local partnerships and community involvement in order to keep Wayne values at the forefront. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen?
I've been involved with, again, several things in Wayne Township. And when I was on the Wayne Township Advisory Board, we did a lot for the community. We had breakfast with Santa Claus, and so we had children from around the community coming in, and they all enjoyed the Christmas celebration. And then we also had this, the food, not the food drive, but the clothing drive for the kids also. So I've been involved in that, and I believe in just reaching out to the community. And if we have to take it into schools, we can have some speakers come in, because we have tons of community advocates that are more than welcome to come in and talk about their experiences and what and how their service will benefit our children in the school. So this is something that is dear to my heart, just being involved with the other organizations within Wayne Township. Thank you.
Thank you. And Shirley?
Coming.
We can hear you.
Technology is wonderful, isn't it? When it works. Wait a minute, Shirley. We can't hear you. And you are muted, or you should be unmuted.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm sorry. I get involved in other people's answers and then I forget to do this and then I don't put my glasses on. But anyway, back to the rich history of Wayne Township. We used to have what we formerly called the Wayne Township values. I don't know if any of you remember those or not, but there were posters up at the drugstore and the grocery store, and that month's value was to be discussed and learned and taught throughout the community. That has given way to habits of success that the students are still learning on a regular basis in the schools, and every teacher is responsible in every class at every class level for presenting those values. What can we do as board members is to model those values, because I think Melissa said earlier, children model after what they see. So if the adults in the community are not modeling those values, then the children will not either. And if the children are modeling those values, sometimes we learn from the children as adults. So modeling both directions, going back to our history and understanding that we've always had our Wayne Township values. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Michael?
I'm a firm believer that we need to know the aspirations and expectations of our community, of our students, of our parents. We need to understand what those are. I have a saying that I like, and it, because, you know, the monkey on the tree here is I'm the white male in this group. So I'm the one who is kind of standing out by himself out here. But I love the saying that I understand that I will never understand. However, I stand. And I'm, you know, I need to learn the community, the values of each person within the community. And we can only do that through learning. Or by listening, I'm sorry, we can only do that learning by listening. Partnerships with local and national companies. We have a lot of partnerships that work into and donate into our school system. Wayne values leading the way. We need to make sure that we're instilling all of that into our children and into our community as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Susan?
Well, I too, like Shirley, I've been what everybody's been saying, and I've been, yes, that's right, yes, that's right. And it reminded me, as a classroom teacher myself, one thing that I did day one was it was important to start building community within my classroom. You know, there were certain rules and expectations, if you will, and consequences, but the children needed to understand that all of those expectations were put into place to help us all get along and have a good time at school. You know, we always had our differences of opinion, and that's going to happen within any community. But I think it's important that we communicate with our community what our values are. Get the community's involvement in helping to set those values and what those values would look like at school. It's just important that we involve the community in setting the values and helping us to teach them at home when the kids are not in school. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next question, and we'll start with Melissa on this one. Currently, the MSD of Wayne Township is offering instruction fully in person for grades K through 5, a hybrid model of grades 6 through 12, and fully virtual for all grades. While these models are currently required by the Marion County Public Health Department, what model or models would you advocate for after the mandate is lifted and the pandemic is over? Melissa, let's start with you.
Well, I would love to see us get through this pandemic for sure. I think we all would, and that's without saying. The model that I would like to see when the mandate is lifted is in person. I think it goes without saying that kids need to be in school. I have seen through Facebook threads and talking with people in the community that have younger children that are struggling with the virtual for sure. And I also know people that have actually gone straight to virtual because their child wasn't able to get through the hybrid schedule. It was just too much for them. So I would definitely go for the in-person. I think it just does kids so much good to be around the other kids. My fear is that these kids that are doing just virtual, especially younger ones, they're not getting that social aspect, and they definitely need that. Also, some kids need that one-on-one with their teacher. They need that teacher in front of them. They need to be able to go up and ask a question or express a concern. So in person for sure, once the mandate is lifted.
Thank you. From there, we will move to Lisa.
So I'm from a family of educators. My parents are retired principals. My sister is a superintendent in Tennessee. My oldest daughter is a first grade teacher. And this has been a topic of conversation for 9 months. And my utmost desire would be in person, because I think the social impact that our children are going to face after this pandemic is going to be much greater than any virus they could have experienced. So that's my first preference. But secondarily, I will say, I think a lot of parents are realizing that some of the virtual works for them. And so maybe there is a hybrid model or a choice that our parents could have to still have their kids at home. But ultimately, in person, kids need kids, kids need teachers. And yeah, that would be my absolute first choice.
Audrey.
Well, the major problem with virtual instruction is that I understand that funding from the state is less than it is for brick and mortar. I'm not sure how that's going to be handled with COVID, but face-to-face instruction is always best and is historically what we use. Building a sense of community and social emotional awareness is something that's not very easily learned without in-person socialization. Now, virtual schooling can be really great for students. For instance, those that have anxiety or depression, it can give them an opportunity to help learn. And so having that option would be important, I believe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. From there, we'll move to Karen.
I am for 100% children back in school. And I think it would be really good for the children, for their learning ability and the one-on-one with the teachers, and just the extracurricular activity if they were back in there. Because currently, right now, if they're at home, they can't participate in any extra activities, so if they're working from home. So I think that would be a big benefit for the children to all go back to school. But it has to be it has to be safe. And I don't know how long that's going to be. We don't know how long it's going to be. But in the meantime, the hybrid is a very good program. It works. It's 2 days they're in school and then they're 3 days at home. I think it's a very good program for some, but there are some that totally virtually is wonderful for the children. It might be advancing. Again, like I know someone that was getting bullied in school, and they're currently excelling because they're at home, working from home virtually. So the 3 programs, but I'm definitely one for everybody to go back to school. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Shirley?
I think regardless of what a school board or even the administration or anyone else is going to be able to do, that the answer to your question should and will rest with parents. They've had the opportunity now, everything's changed. They've had the opportunity to experience the hybrid, maybe the full-on electronic, or being back into the classroom. And those parents and those students are going to make the choice of where the students are going to go to school and how they're going to obtain their schooling. It's anybody's guess. It makes for a whole interesting new wrinkle in school board governance and how we look to the future of our finances. But the parents and the students are going to make the decision in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Michael?
Thank you. As someone who's volunteered in the schools, and I've sat with these children and I've talked to them and I've listened to them in years past with their desire to be there. And some of these kids come to school and they come to school to get love. They come to school to get fed. They come to school to have the teachers just acknowledge them. It is direly important that we have our children back in school. However, I also believe, as Karen said, it needs to be done safely. And we need to make sure that I have friends who have pulled their kids and put them in online school, and we need to make sure that we don't force this as an in-person only, because those parents who aren't sure that kids are going to be safe, they're going to pull their kids out and put them in a virtual school, and Wayne Township isn't going to be able to help them at all at that point. So I think that needs to be based on parental needs and parental desires. However, I fully advocate for being able to be back in the school so that our teachers and our administrators can have their hands on these kids and can have their hearts wrapped around them. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan?
Well, I would like to take this opportunity right now to thank all of the administrators, all of the teachers, the school board members, the parents who have been through a lot. I can't even imagine what you've been through during this time. I have, like I said earlier, I have a son who is 15. He was home. He and I were home together, and I watched what he was doing. He had my support, but there are a lot of our children who do not have that support at home because their parents have to work. It's been hard on a lot of people. It's been hard on our family, but I can't imagine what it's been like on a single parent family. You know, as a child of a single parent mom, I get that she had to go out and work, and I get that our parents need that too. My vote too would be for in person learning back in the schools. The kids have to be there, but like Shirley said, in the end, it is about the parents and the students and what's best for the child, and we need to look at what's best for our. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Brandy.
Hi, yeah. So just like with anything else in life, there, different situations call for a different type of solution. So I do think that it varies situation by situation. I can't say from my experience working in public education that I think that while there are students that are excelling in this virtual world, I think more often than not, we have students that are falling behind. And I've seen a lot of people put on social media, well, the school is not there to be a babysitter. And oh boy, don't even get me started on that soapbox, because it's so much more complex than that. That just wears me out when people say that. We have to consider the huge knowledge gaps that our children are having now being virtual. We have to consider those family dynamics. Again, I work with public schools, and I have seen an uptick in child abuse cases. I've seen an uptick in more emotional distress with these children. So we have to think about that, especially in urban settings. We have to look at the children holistically. Their social interaction is important, the mental effects of all of this. So my vote would be for us to be in person if we can be, obviously doing that safely. The other thing, though, that I do want to say that there are some positive with this. I think a lot of times in public schools, not just in the MSC of Wayne Township, we don't do sometimes a really good job of promoting independence with our children. And so this has provided an opportunity for our children to be a little bit more independent thinkers and learners. So there are some goods from this as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Brandy. We will move on to the next question, and we will start this question with Lisa. We hear a lot about teacher shortages. How can we attract the best teachers to want to come to Wayne Township to work?
So that's a great question. And with my experience in recruiting and retention and HR is one that I think I could bring some value to the board. But my HR hat tells me we need to put some attractions in place, and we need to recruit teachers that are going to be passionate. And I think one of the things that Wayne Township has done such a great job at is growing their own. And so if we can get students who are going through our school system who are passionate about education, passionate about children, and then giving them some type of incentive to come back and teach for us, I think that is the best way to get teachers who understand the dynamics, understand the cultural differences in our communities, understand the economic differences among all of our students. We have so many students that are at the poverty level. And I think having teachers that have gone through our system and understand our district is going to be critical.
Okay, thank you so much, Lisa. Audrey.
To attract and retain the highest quality teachers, there are a lot of things that we can do. I say that the most important thing is to offer competitive salaries and benefits, but also support. This includes time for planning and grading during the school day, professional development opportunities, teamwork building opportunities, keeping classroom sizes low. Now, I know our pay is highly competitive with other local districts, and one thing that I highly appreciate is that our instructional assistants are offered healthcare benefits. I believe that this does help us attract and retain the best quality teachers. We were one of the last districts in Indianapolis to change the teacher salary schedule, which tells us how Wayne tries to highly compensate teachers. Other things we could do are to celebrate promotions and achievements at school board meetings, such as when teachers become administrators or instructional assistants reach high milestones with their students. By celebrating these achievements with the school body, we can create a positive culture. Many people leave jobs not from salary disputes, but from a lack of support or acknowledgement. I would not only acknowledge, but celebrate Wayne staff's achievements. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen.
Well, I have a teacher my daughter is a teacher at Pike High School. So I listen to her a lot. And we, as MSD Wayne, we have very good teachers. And one thing she recommended as a teacher, that the schools show support for the teachers and then have them to become master teachers. And then also enhancement in technology. And I know Wayne is doing a lot of this, but we also have good salaries. That is a big thing for the attractions for teacher. And I also think we need more diversity as teachers within MSD Wayne. So we need to work on that also. But so show support, and the money is big, and technology. Thank you.
Thank you. Shirley?
Well, here we go again with the history. We have a rich history of being able to attract the best teachers that there are to attract. That is changing, just like everything else in the world is changing, but we do have the reputation and the history of attracting, I'll get it out in a minute, attracting the best teachers that are out there. Along with that, our HR department actually travels quite a bit at certain times of the year when there are diversity fairs going on, because we are trying so hard to have our staff look a little bit more like our students. And so we reach out, we go out, or the HR department goes out to different parts of the country and tries to attract diverse teachers into our community. And then the other little gem that we have is that we have several partnerships with different universities where we take their student teachers, and we can then look at the student teachers and say, this one's really good, and this one's really good, and this one's really good, and we want you to stay. We want you to stay here with us. So that would be my answer.
Thank you so much. Michael?
Thank you. I'm a firm believer in homegrown teachers. We have so many kids in our schools that if you go through and ask them, what do you want to do? There's going to be a large handful that are going to say, I want to be a teacher. Well, let's figure out a way to make Wayne Township attractable to where they want to stay here and they want to stay and teach in their home schools. We need to do it by getting support from our administration. We need to offer them teamwork opportunities where they're working in teams. We need to make sure that there's plenty of professional development opportunities. We need to make sure, and I don't remember who said, I think it was Audrey, we need to make sure we're celebrating our teachers. We need to make sure that somehow they're getting recognition for the job they're doing day in and day out. Because I'm telling you, I know I would not want their job. I've sat and I've talked to them and I've listened to them, and I would not want their job. We need to make sure that we're giving them opportunities for continued education to learn more and to get better as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan?
Again, I have to thank our teachers and our people in the schools that have been incredible during this pandemic time. I think that I saw it all over social media, how people were realizing what teachers do day in and day out. And we have to celebrate our teachers. We have to encourage them. Yes, professional development is crucial and important, but I think that building teams within our schools so that as a new teacher, I remember being scared to death. I spent the first day in the bathroom sick because I was so nervous. But having that strong mentor, that person that will support you, that you can partner with, as a new teacher and grow as a teacher is vitally important, just because there's so much going on in our world and our classrooms, that having someone who's there with you, kind of your your cheerleader, your supporter is crucial to retain teachers and attracting teachers. One of the things that I know that we did at our school was we would ask for, do you have any friends that are looking for a teaching job? And I think that sometimes when you are in a new place, then having someone that you know there to support you is helpful. Sorry, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you. Brandy.
So in my experience, teachers like to come to Wayne Township, just from people talking to me and me knowing educators. I've had sorority sisters that, were like, I would love to have an interview to work in Wayne Township. So, Wayne Township seems to have a good reputation with educators. So I think we need to focus on retention. And with retention, I think one of the big things is making sure that teachers feel supported. Remember, I do have 2 graduates from Wayne Township, and my 7th grader is, in Wayne Township. And so I've gotten the opportunity to interact with a lot of educators in this district, obviously. And one of the things that I get back with everyone that I ask is they want to feel supported. They want policies in place that make them feel safe, and they want policies in place that show that they can have autonomy and that they are trusted to make the right decision, because they are the ones in the trenches with our families and with our students every single day. Also, our up and coming teachers value diversity. So I think continuing to have a very diverse staff is going to help keep our best teachers as well.
Thank you, Brandy. Melissa.
So I know several teachers within Ben Davis schools that are alumni. And I think it shows definitely, as several of you have said, that people do want to work in Wayne. They want to teach in Wayne. I know several kids that have gone to college and they say they want to make sure that they can student teach in Wayne. So Wayne does have a great reputation, I think, as teachers. I know the teachers that I know, they feel like Wayne is their family, and we are Wayne. You can't say it any better than that. We are Wayne, and I think most teachers that teach in Wayne feel that way. However, we do need to make sure we can retain them, and I think recognizing them for the work they do continuously is a big thing, and listening to their concerns. They want to be heard too. And I think that's vitally important to be able to retain them. That's it.
Thank you, Melissa. Move on to our next question. We'll start with Audrey this time. What do you see as the challenges of school safety, and what can the school board do to make our schools, students, and our staff safer?
Now, I know in light of COVID, this question is has a lot wrapped up into it. But as far as COVID goes, I believe that we are doing our best to keep the children safe. We have a lot of cleaning products in place. We are doing the hybrid model, letting them learn from home. And then, but as far as security goes as a whole, I believe that the best place to offer, I believe that we, I believe that we do keep our children secure, and I do know that in one of the recent board meetings, we approved a money for updating of security cameras, which I think will help keep our children secure. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen, same question.
I really think this is an important question pertaining to safety and concerns for everyone in Wayne Township, as far as the staffing and everyone. We do have a lot of policies out there now pertaining to safety. safety is actually, it's a lot more now. Yes, we do have the pandemic, and that's exactly what we're focusing on right now in this present day. But we also have to continue to focus on the simple, it might sound simple, but let's say fire drills, tornado drills, bomb drills. I mean, these are different things that we, as a school board and as educators, will still have to communicate this with the children. And we can't really just do it one day at the beginning of the school. This needs to be, all the safety and concerns need to be addressed at least quarterly with the children and taught. So I would just think that's a big thing. As a school board, we need to make sure the children are taught more than one day, at least quarterly. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Karen. Shirley.
Okay, I would like for just once not to bring the whole pandemic into this, and let's look at school safety as it is under a normal school year. We have excellent in-school resource officers, school resource officers who work very hard to build the same kind of relationship that we expect our teachers to have with our students. And because of that, probably what is proving to be our biggest detriment to any problems within the school is that our students feel comfortable when they see something, they say something. They don't feel like they're ratting out their friends or their other students. They've been led to understand that if you see something that's not right, you report it. And I thank our SRO officers for that, our SRO people. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael.
Along with Shirley, I'm going to stay away from the COVID and the pandemic all the way around, and I want to just talk about school safety before 2020. All of our schools, or almost all of them, I believe, have some kind of entry system where somebody from outside cannot just walk directly into the school. They have to be buzzed in, and that is after the person, whoever is the secretary, whoever's there at that door, has talked to them and made sure that they're coming in for a reason. It does amaze me, and I'll bring up the COVID now, it does amaze me that around the country, we've had so many schools say we can't figure out how to do safety, we can't figure out how to do safety, until now COVID hits, and now everybody can figure out how to do safety. So I'm blessed and I'm fortunate, I think, that Wayne Township, we're all blessed and fortunate that Wayne Township has these safety measures in place with the doors to where it keeps people out. But I also think building relationships in our community, building relationships with our children, it all makes a difference. You know, if we can help, we've got a great SEL program there at the school, and I think we need to continue building upon that SEL program to where maybe at some point we branch out and are able to include some parents to help with social and more emotional learning, to where the things that upset us and get us mad and get us angry maybe don't get us angry and get us mad so much anymore. And we figure out how to deal with some of that hurt. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan?
Efforts that can be taken to ensure student safety and well-being are to teach our students about being safe and protecting their minds and their hearts. Teachers know that building relationships with their students and families is critical for student success. That's one of the things that, as a classroom teacher, we all know as classroom teachers and humans in general, that connections and relationships are everything. So when a child feels safe at school or feels safe at home, they are, like Shirley said, they are going to say something that is not right, that they know needs to be fixed. Also, to circle back to what Audrey was talking about with bullying, I too was a child who was bullied in school, and I was scared to death. So I think that we need to continue the social emotional learning that Wayne Township has now been putting into place, which I think is strong for our students. But again, building relationships with our kids is critical. into helping them to feel safe at school and just to be good humans to one another. I think that we don't always look at that, and that's critical for our students.
Thank you. Brandy.
So I know that it was announced in September this year that Wayne Township recently received a $100,000 safety grant through the Secured School Safety Grant Program. And through that program, we've also received other funding as well, totaling around $600,000. I, for one, as a parent, feel very safe. Both of my boys, my older boys, play varsity ball for Ben Davis, and I've been to a lot of games, and sometimes that's where a lot of ruckus can happen, and I've always felt safe. I think those kind of programs are important for us to continue to try to fund in the future. We know that we're going to need it. We know that we're going to need to continue to keep our students safe. So that needs to, definitely continue to be a very important line item budget. I think the other things too, again, I like to look at things at the very granular stage and what kind of issues can we have with our students in school. I think continuing with anti-bullying efforts as well, so that students don't feel the need to have to defend themselves in the school, and possibly take extreme measures, giving students that emotional support that they need as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa.
I would like to start off by thanking our resource officers. I have a lot of respect for them, and having 7 kids in this system, most of them, actually all of them, have formed some sort of relationship with some of these officers. They know that they can go to them. They're not afraid of them. And I think that is so important. Like Shirley said, it's just as important for them to form these relationships with our students as the teachers, because I think that helps our kids feel safe. And then they are not as afraid to say something if they see something. And again, to kind of expand on the SEL, I think that's so important because that goes along with the bullying. We need our kids to feel emotionally safe. And bullying is a big thing. It always has been, and I think it's becoming even bigger, not even just in our school district, but we're hearing about it in other school districts, and it's real. And we need our kids to feel safe coming to school and not get bullied. So I think we need more direct education towards our students regarding bullying as well. And then just making sure our policies are up to date and looking to see if there needs to be any changes made.
Thank you, Melissa. And Lisa.
So some really amazing points have been made by all of these candidates, and forgive me as I read just a little bit because I want to touch on some of the points of my campaign that relate to this question. But one of my focal points is protecting our children and staff, and protection includes safety. But that can mean protecting students' individuality as humans and as students, providing them with ways to express their personalities, protecting students and staff in terms of safety, safe travel to and from school, safety while they're in school, protecting staff and students' privacy. Social media is such a big thing right now, and protecting our students' privacy and not sharing too much of that online. Protecting students' rights as students and individuals, protecting teachers' rights as well, and giving them the ability to teach to the best of their abilities, and then supporting and proposing and implementing policies that will help support all of these things. And, most of us, with the exception of one, have not done this before. And so I think collaboration on the school board is going to be critical in terms of setting policies that help address this.
Hey, thank you so much. And that's all the time we have this evening for questions. However, before we close, each candidate will give us a 30-second closing. And Karen, we will start with you.
I want to thank everyone for participating in this forum. I want to thank the teachers, especially, for your patience and your guidance for our students. I want to thank the administrators and the current school board for creating policies that is so beneficial for our students. If I am elected, I will ensure educational needs are equitable for all. I will support school safety and security for all. I will be a good steward for the district funding. I will promote more diversity throughout the district. I will be an advocate for the students and parents of Wayne Township. I will have an open door policy for students, parents, staff, and the community of Wayne Township because I will represent you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shirley. Need to unmute.
Okay, I was unmuted. I didn't know it. What an amazing bunch of candidates you guys are. And it just warms my heart because in the years that I've been on the school board, we've had many years when the only candidates just had some sort of their own agenda, and that was the only reason they wanted to run. And you guys are just great. I'm just real happy, and my heart's warm for that. I can work with any one of you or all of you or whoever else gets elected. But I do want to work with you, and I do want to collaborate, and I do want to share what I know with each and every one of you. So, thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Michael.
I want to start by saying thank you to everyone who's taken the time to spend an hour and a half with us tonight. I want to thank these ladies that I've had an opportunity to get to know over the last few weeks. We've had an opportunity to talk. We've had an opportunity just to learn together. And I thank each of you for all that you've helped me with. As we move forward, I'm looking forward to having an opportunity to represent this district. I promise to continue working towards diversity, to continue being an advocate for those who aren't there. And I just, no matter what we do going forward, and no matter who you vote for, I want to make sure that you know you need to get out and get the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan? Susan, you need to unmute your microphone.
Sorry about that. I apologize for that. I am very grateful to have this opportunity to on a nomination for a school board seat at within Wayne Township. I graduated from Wayne Township. I've lived in Wayne Township. My child goes to Wayne Township, like a lot of you have said, and it would be an honor to serve you. And I promise that I would work hard and I would listen and show empathy and great stewardship for our wonderful district. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Susan. Brandy?
Hi, thank you. I just want to thank everyone for having me, and I just want to thank all of the candidates. I would vote for any one of you. This is going to be a very tough decision this year. So great slate of candidates. I do want to close just by pointing out the key points to my platform, which is safe schools for our students and staff, fighting for equitable funding, recruitment and retention of quality educators, and community engagement and transparency. I certainly hope that I've earned your vote. And if you have any questions, you can reach me at Brandy London for MSD of Wayne Township on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. Melissa?
Well, thank you again to our sponsors and our hosts, and thank you to the other candidates. I think it is going to be tough because I think we all have a lot to add to be a member of our school board. I am honored to be one of the candidates, and I look forward to election. I will definitely be an advocate, a listener. I want to be able to engage, enhance, and enrich our community and MSD Wayne School District.
Thank you, Melissa. Lisa?
Again, thank you for hosting this tonight. I would have nothing but the pleasure of being able to work with any one of you. This is a great slate. I want to encourage, again, the diversity topic, and diversity among the board is critical. And I think also that includes diversity in people representing the neighborhoods of Wayne Township, and we don't have anyone from Mars Hill on the board. And so that's not my only reason for running, but that was one of the things that really inspired me to. And Ariana, who has been one of our students here at the Art Center, who asked me to do it and had the courage to say so. So I'm glad to be a part of this group.
Thank you, Lisa. Audrey.
Well, thank you to our hosts, and thank you for watching from home. I'm running in 2020 because I understood at least one board member was retiring. As a volunteer and member of other boards, I understand and welcome the time commitment serving as a school board member will entail. As an educator, I understand the importance of our scholars' happiness and success. I will keep our children and families first in all my decisions. You can find me on Facebook at Audrey Strecker for MSD of Wayne, and I look forward to communicating further with you. Thank you.
Okay, once again, I would like to introduce all of our candidates. We have Karen Burke, Shirley Decker, Michael Gordon, Susan Graves, Brandy London, Melissa Ritchie, Lisa Schmitz, and Audrey Marie Steckler. Thanks to all of our candidates for participating this evening. You all did a terrific job, and especially in our virtual setting, and something very different for all of us. And very pleased at how well you adhered to the time limits, and just you guys all were great. Our voters really have a tough decision to make in November. And on behalf of the 40 West Business Association, the Community News, and the Community Chatter, we would like to thank everyone for attending this evening. We would all like to remind you to get out and vote on or before November the 3rd. Thanks again for joining us virtually, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night. Don't forget to get out and vote. Thank you.